Hello, welcome to our webinar, Detect and Alert on Social Engineering Events. Let's see, for today I created an agenda to see what can happen due to social engineering and what do we have to do to protect us against social engineering. It's not only on the IT, but it's also on behavior, security, and that kind of things. We will talk about it later. What can we do to detect social engineering? And I have an example, which is combined from some experience I have from the past. We will go over all the parts which are then there, and then we are going to check what we can see in the GREYCORTEX Mendel for all the events which took place on this social engineering event. Well, probably this is not new to you, because if you look at the newspapers or at television news shows, you will see all this kind of headlines every day. So there are accounts are stolen, valuable information is stolen, confidential information is stolen, some data is encrypted, and so that means that there is some ransomware there and you need to pay to get the data back again. So most of the time it will happen due to social engineering, that people are just receiving an email or anything else, or download an app which is infected with malware, adware, that kind of thing. So be careful for these things. And what we are going to do today is we will go over the tactics and techniques which could be used for social engineering. And there are all kinds of tactics and techniques you can use. So I already told you, you can send an email with a link where you can click on that you can download some adware or something else, or you can be forwarded to a fake web page where you need to put your credentials. This is all based on IT, but social engineering is more, you know. Imagine you have a company on a corporate building, and if you are going to your office floor, you need to have a badge to get inside, right? And yeah, be careful that there are not people sneaking in behind you without using a badge. So they will get access to the office floor without that they are allowed to go there. So be careful for that. Something else, when you are on the office floor and you see, for example, next to the coffee machine a post-it with the wireless LAN credentials, so that people who are sneaking in are able to get access to the wireless LAN because it's there published. Something else, maybe you can see when you are walking around over an office floor that there are unattended PCs and the screens are not locked. So if you are going to sit down there, you can scroll over all the applications which are open on that PC. So be careful. Lock your PC, lock your screen when you are going to the toilet, going to get a cup of coffee. Something else, maybe there are some printed documents, but social engineering is not basically on IT, but it's also on physical documents. Make sure that confidential information is not on your desk, that people can see this information. be careful not to use post-its on your laptop for usernames and passwords because you are not able to remember it. Use a KeyPass to do that. That's all kind of things where you should think on at social engineering. So it's good when people can follow training for that. There are a lot of trainings you can follow that you make aware of the tactics and techniques which are used. And in this time with AI, you know that these tactics and techniques will be smarter and smarter. So it looks more and more real. So you have to take care a little bit more to do not the wrong things, right? If that's taken care of, then, for example, what should the company do to keep all the employees on track? That means that they should run regular audits to see if everybody is aware of this kind of social engineering events, that they don't click on the wrong links. So what I saw in the past is for companies, they will send, for example, a fake email. The network guys will send you a fake email, and if you click on the link, you have to run your training again, for example. But also checking if there are clean desks, if there are memos with usernames and passwords, that kind of things. Are there unattended laptops, PCs? So that's also part of the audit, to check if people are going in with a badge and not sneaking in behind other people's. Just that's also part of the audit. Okay, talking about that, then it would be nice when you took all kind of methods to prevent social engineering. It can still happen that somebody by accident click on something and it was so very good created that you couldn't see if it was a real email or a fake email. And that means that it would be good when there is a tool which can at least check your network on strange behavior or unexpected behavior in an early stage and warn network or security people for that. It would be nice if that tool also will store all the data so you can go back in time and you can use that tool for forensic analytics. Okay, let's go to the example. Again, this example is something I experienced during the last 10 years. So it's not real, but I experienced it and I show you what happens. And it's based on something what really happened in the past. Long story short, during the period I worked for an international company. We had an office floor in the corporate building. And if you like to go on the office floor, you need to have a badge, of course. And the badge was only needed to get in, not to get out. So that's also a point which we could improve, because it would be better when you have a badge to go in and go out, because then you can't go out without a badge. But in this case, it was only to get in. And one day I was a little bit late on the office, and I was at the door for the office to get the entrance, and there was a nice lady introducing herself as my new colleague from the UK, and she said, "Sorry, I have to leave my badge inside. I had to go to the bathroom, and sorry, I left my badge inside. Can you let me in?" I thought, yeah, well, why not? You know, it looks like an honest lady, and she spoke perfectly English. So I thought, okay, let's see. In an international company, you don't know all your colleagues, so I let her in. And later we discovered that user credentials were stolen and confidential documents were published. And yeah, there it started. So what looks innocent to let this lady in was not as innocent as it looks like. Because what happened, it seems that this lady was not just my colleague, but she was one of the attackers who got access to the office floor. And the nice thing was there that she could go ahead because she was connected to our LAN network. So she did pass the firewall, so she's not coming in from the internet, so she was already on the floor and she could hook up her laptop to one of the free network connections on the office. So what did she do? So she checked first what is the DNS which is used from the local area network there. So you can see the DNS server was 192.168.2.254. And the next thing he did was to check the ports which are open on the DNS server with nmap. So when you check the commands you run, nmap to this specific IP, and just checking which ports were responding. So you see here that, of course, port 53 was open because that's the DNS port, but also port 22 SSH was open. You can see that port 1723 point-to-point protocol was open. You can see port 23, it's Telnet, it was open. Port 443 was open. It's for also for tunneling there. And port 2000 was open, and 8291, and that's the management port for MikroTik devices, for example. So what she did is she said, okay, I see that Telnet is available. So what can I do? Probably run a dictionary attack on the Telnet session. And that's what she did. So she had a library with passwords and usernames, of course, and she ran it against that DNS server. And you see on Telnet, there was a connection to the DNS server 192.168.2.254, and the login username is admin, lowercase, and the password was rodmin1 with a capital R. So knowing this, she said, okay, let's continue and let's add a DNS entry there. So what she did is, sorry, this is what I'm looking for. So she logged in with admin and rodmin1. She went into the MikroTik device and she entered IP DNS static and add the name, and the name she add was Google. I said, she said, okay, let's do it a lookalike Google. So she spelled it a little bit wrong, but most of the time that is what's happening for social engineering, especially when links are not internal. then you will see that they will use a link which looks like the real link, so you don't see it immediately what is wrong. In this case, she added google.com to an internal IP address, and that's the IP address from her Kali server, which is 192.168.2.61. So saying that everything is done now, she has everything created, and then she was as smart as that. Let's see that nobody is seeing it, that I did change something. So she did go for a lunch break and checked if there were some rumors that something is going wrong there, but nobody detected anything. So she said, okay, let's continue my job again. So what she did is she set up a fake Google authentication page, and for that she used her Kali server with a set toolkit and just set up that page, and just wait for people to log in on that authentication page to fetch all the usernames and passwords, so the credentials which are there. The next thing she did is she sent an email. So she had a script, a Python script, which was launched, and with that Python script she sent an email. What happens next? Next, you could see that the email was sent to my account. So most of the time with social engineering events, you will get an email, you will get a time frame. There's always a hurry. You need to do it now as fast as possible, because tomorrow your account is expired and you are not able to log in anymore. So you need to do it now. There are some reasons why you should change your password, and that's all kind of information which is normal, company policy, security, blah blah blah. That's what it is. And to make life easy, you see there is a link. Log in your account. So that makes life easy, because otherwise people need to go to locations and they need to see how to log in and how to do things. So they make your life a little bit easier. What we see is that the sender, where it's coming from, it was the Mendel at GREYCORTEX.nl. You can see here for support, it's the original support link. When you look at the account, you could see that there was Google and .com. And yeah, just click on the account and you will go to google.com. You see it on the top in the link, it's google.com. It's spelled wrong, of course, but yeah, people don't see it. So what they did is they put the credentials here inside. So that means it's my name, and I put my password there, and then I click login, and then okay, it seems something went wrong. So yeah, so I had to do it again. But in the meantime, on the fake web page, you could see that there was access and the credentials are seen. So you see here, my username is there and my password is there. So now she was able to log in and get all the information which is in my email. She could see also the shared drives. They could see my contacts and that kind of things. So that's how it happened. Let's see. if we had the tooling, what could we see if we look at in the past what happened? So let's go to the tooling and let's see what's available there. So you can see all the events are ranked based on severity. In this case, I like to go in time, back in time to now. So that means that I like to arrange here the time from the morning until the afternoon. You can see this happens in the morning, about 10 in the morning, and the second part was in the afternoon, so after her lunch break. So what we can do is just zoom in to the first part and analyze it, what is going on. And I can explain with the movies you saw in the previous screens what's going on. So you can see here, when the Nmap started, there were some connections seen. There was a connection seen to port 8291, so that is new MikroTik Winbox, because that port was responding, and you can see it here on that port, right, 8291. It's not going to log in, it was only to check if the port is available. It was also for the new web service, which was the port 443, right? So it was not logging in, it was just checking if the port is available. It was also for a telnet session. It was not logging in, but just checking if telnet was available. So this is detected at first spot, right? So when you look at the time, it was 10:01, 10:001, so it was 1 minute past 10, it was seen. The next thing which was done was, of course, when the telnet port was opened, she ran a dictionary attack and got access to the DNS server to add a DNS entry. The first thing the system will detect, and it's not that it's immediately detecting that it was a scanning and a brute force attack, but first it will detect that there are telnet sessions. And if you click on the link, you will see these detailed sessions are there in 4 times. And each time the telnet was detected, something else happened. So if we look at the first part, that was the scanning. So that was, if we look at the first block, sorry. If we look at the first block, then we can see it's a scanning. And you can see if you go to the show this part, it's only checking if the telnet port was open. So if I look at the application layer, it's just empty, right? So it was just checking is that port open. If I look at the second block, then we can see that there is checked what protocol is on port 23. So that means if you go to the application layer, that you can see there's already communication that is really detected as telnet. So port 23 is really carrying telnet. So it's seen that really telnet sessions are there. If we go to the third block, then you can see that there was the dictionary attack. And that means that you can see that they are trying to log in with username, password, all usernames, passwords, that kind of things. All of them are there. And at the end, of course, I don't show them all because it was a whole list of that. And at the end, there was the last part, which is seen here. And there you can see, of course, that she logged in and added the new DNS entry. So when you look here, you can see admin, redmin1, and she's going to add IP DNS static. You see that information, Google, and the next one is of course the rest of the text and the IP address which is there. So it was 192.168.2.61, and she quit, so she logged out for that part. So all that information is seen in the telnet sessions. Telnet detected. In the meantime, you saw that also during the Nmap attack or the Nmap scan, that there are more things checked than only the ports which are open. So it's also tracking the bind version for the DNS. So you can see here, when you look at what is seen, that is checking the bind version. And if I look at the flows, you can see that there is ask for the bind version and the response code is number 4. So that means it's not available in this case, but if it was available, you should seen it. If we check the next one, then you can see that there are more peers seen at a certain host. Connections between two IP addresses, peers, just in case I need to explain it. So when you look at this, and you can see here, then you can see that at the 61, and that's the attacker, his PC, there were 1000 peers seen, right? And it's the same for the DNS server, are also 1000 peers seen. So the system is detecting the abnormal number of peers connections between hosts in subnets. Then you can see the potential SSH scan, because you know it was tracking on port 22 to see what kind of protocol is there, and that means that you can see there is an SSH scan. The same is for VNC, of course, because it's trying to get all the ports. And then after some time, of course, then it's clear that there is an internal scan available. So when you look at the details for this one, you can see that the 61 is going to connect to the DNS server, and if you look at the details, you will see that really the number of flows are seen here, that kind of information. But more important is when you look at the flows, you can see it's really going to check all ports, destination ports on the 254. So it's going on TCP on 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, you know, you name it. And you can see also when there is a known port, that it will check which protocol is active there. And you can see in this case it was SSH active, and on this one was Telnet active, DNS active, and there will be more ports available where you can see which the protocols are active. I don't go over all the protocols, because if you look are all the ports, because you know when you are going to scan these ports, then you will go up to the last ports. So it's a lot of ports which are seen there. I'm not going over all the ports, but you can see at least it's scanning. At the time she run the nmap to one IP address, her ID was, when I run a scan to one IP address, then maybe nobody is seeing it. If I run a scan over the whole network, then maybe there is a tool which will see it, or it's clear that somebody is scanning. So she just thought about it. I like to change the DNS entry, so I only need to check DNS server for entries for open ports. So that's what happens here. And then, of course, there are some ports on not standard ports. That's also what nmap will do. It will check services on non-standard ports. So that means that that it's detected that somebody likes to set up a service to an unknown port. The second one here is that there is a request and missing replies from some services. Yeah, if there are no standard ports and there are no services running, there is no reply. So you will see that. What we see also is that nmap scripting is done by an engine. So let's see here what is important. So you can see it's done from the 61. And the 61, if you click on it, you could see that it's carrying the name now google.com. And you know why? Because it was added in the DNS entry as google.com. So you can also see that this IP address is carrying this name now. So it's seen. One can go to more details and we can say, okay, let's see what kind of information is there. And you can see here that nmap is used there. There is an agent running for it. So, okay, that means if nmap is running, that there is more information. So here you can see possible nmap user agent observed. So that means that if we are going to check in more detail what is seen there, let's see if I can show you what nmap is doing, for example. So you can see all the nmap commands which are running there, nmap lower deck, and there are more commands running, get that, robot text, there's all kinds of nmap commands which are running. So it's not only to check the port, but also the nmap commands are running there. Good. nmap probe, it's the same basically. So you are warned that the nmap probe is there, and you can see it here in more detailed information. What we have more is that it looks like there is also a brute force attack detected on Telnet. So, and that's okay. You already saw that first part is detected here as Telnet sessions. So it was first detecting the port, then the protocol, then the dictionary attack, and then adding the row there. But it's also seen in the system, and it's a matter of minutes, of course. So it's seen already in the system. So that means that you will see that there is an attempt to get username and password, a brute force attack to get that information. I will show you what is seen in the system, but basically that's the same information as we saw in the other telnet sessions during the third block of telnet, where you could see that there is the dictionary attack. So here you will see all the attack information which is used on the telnet session. And then the last one in the block before she went for the lunch break is telnet logout. It's low severity, but if you like to change it, you can change the severity, of course. So we could check it and say, okay, I like, in this case, we could say ignore the event, but here not ignore it, but raise, for example, the severity, and then it's a higher severity. And maybe we should do that, but in this case it was on severity 2. That's what it is, but it tells you telnet logout. So that means there was also a login, so it was a successful login, and now there is a logout. And if we look at the details, we can see that if you look here, that there is a login with admin and admin1, and that there is a DNS static at the name Google. It was corrected because they did the right the typing first, and then they changed the E and the L, and they put the IP address there, the 61, and they put quit there. So it's a telnet logout. So it was also a successful login. We already saw in the telnet session that this was added to the DNS server. Good. This kind of things were all happening before the lunch break. And if the tooling could warn you, an NDR tool should warn you, should warn the security department, should warn you by email, whatever, then you could have taken some actions, right? In this case, nobody took action. So that means when we are going to, hold on. When we are just going to the second part of the attack, which is in the afternoon, and nobody took care of it. So what we see here is the second part, and this is the part where she got all the credentials. We see that there is a new NTP system detected. Okay, so that means if we look here and we look at the details, that we can see there is a new event for NTP in the network. And when we look at the data, we can see, okay, it's just really NTP. So nothing to worry about, right? But there is a new device detected, which is looking at NTP. So if we look at the device, then it would be this device, the 52, right? If we look at the 52, we can see that this device is behaving as an email server. The role is email server. So the system will automatically put tags on elements, on hosts in the network with a certain behavior. So it's not that I configured it, it's automatically tagged. So it's tagged as an email server and as an NTP client, right? What I could do from here, but I will come to that later, is we can look at the top events here. The top events is discovered a new email service on that IP, right? But I will come to that later from the events list. But I could go from here also. So let's go back and see The NTP service was discovered, and here you see the new web service is discovered. So that means that on port 80, there is a new web service detected. We could go for the more detailed information and show the flows which are seen there. And you can see that there is going to the URI is google.com, and the information which is sent is the service login authentication on that page, right? So that's the email which is sent to it's seen. Sorry, the new web service is seen on the Google page. So it's the 61. That's the fake Google web service which is seen, and it's going to google.com and notification. Sorry. The next part we are going to check is that the email is the new email service is there. So I like to see really the new service which is there. So it's SMTP. So when we can go to a little bit more detailed, then we can see for the flows there are two ones here. So you can see that the 61 is going to the mail server, the internal one with SMTP. So we can check here what's going on. So you can see it's sent to my own email address, and the mail is from the Mendel at GREYCORTEX.nl. So there is a fake email server running on GREYCORTEX.nl, and it's sent from Mendel. And the subject which is sent was change your password now. That's correct. That's how it was sent. Can immediately see that the 61 will send it to the 52, and the 52 will forward it to the email server for the Google in SMTPS. So that means if we are going to look here, that we only see that it's encrypted traffic and TLS version 1.3 is used and that kind of information, but we can't see the content of the email. At least you can see what happens. The next one we can see is that somehow in the system a clear text password is seen. So what we can see here is that we can see the information, and the detailed information is here, and we can see here the clear text password. You can see here my email address, and you can see here the password, the password in clear text, right? So at least it's seen. The second thing we see is that there is an HTTP server banner. So that means for the web page where you are logging in, it's sent. So what is going to do is that my laptop is logging in the fake google.com page, and if we look here to the more detailed information, then you can see all this nice information. It's not clear exactly what's going on here. So what you also can do is we can look up this information in CyberChef. And that means that it gives you a little bit a better overview for the web page which is running there. And you can see the title for the web page. It's signing in Google account, and that this is basically the setup for that specific web page. So it makes it more clear and readable to explain what happened. So basically that's the web page which is seen here. And then last but not least is, wow, phishing successfully Google account. That's what we see. And yeah, it's severity 10, of course. So when we look in the beginning at all the events, we could see that number 10 was on top. So yeah, but to explain how everything was seen, I did it on the timeline and not on severity. So when we look here is of course that you can have that information available again, and that you can see that the data is seen again. Email address and password is seen there. Good. What we have, this is what we have in the system to analyze when it's going on. And keep in mind that phishing and vulnerabilities in this case, it was in one day, but sometimes there is a week in between, a month in between, so it can take longer. So be careful for that. So let's go back to the presentation and see what we saw today. So beware of social engineering. So you know now a little bit what can happen, of course, due to social engineering, and that it's not only based on IT, but that's sometimes also based on access to office floors, access to keyboards, because there are unintended PCs, laptops. Maybe there are some memos with or post-its on the wall with usernames and passwords, so that kind of things. So that means run a training that everybody knows about the newest things and where to check, how to check if a link is valid or not valid, and maybe it's still not enough, and for that reason you could have that that tool in your network. So it's good when you have the tool that you also run audits, not only to check if there is a clean desk policy, if there are no post-its and that kind of things, but also on your network. So to send fake emails and see if how your employees are behaving and if it's clear. So that's good. Maybe it's good to have a quick button in your email program in Outlook or anything like that, that you can say mark this as something suspicious, and it will automatically send an email to the security department, which can check if it's safe or not safe. Of course, you can take care of all kinds of things. What we saw here, for example, is that the network was not protected. So that means that everybody could hook up to the network. So it would be good that you don't have your wireless LAN credentials public on a memo near to the coffee machine. Maybe don't have unused switch ports open, so shut down unused ports. Make sure that you have a kind of network access control system, so that you first have to log in to get access to the network. What you could do is you could split your management part from network elements. What you saw is in this case that on the data network was also the management port for the DNS server. You could split that, for example, that management ports for network elements or servers are on separate networks. That could be a physical separate network, or maybe just a virtual separate network, that kind of things. Block access for network elements, for example, that only the network engineering department could have access to it, so that it's also not only blocked, not only based on username password, but also blocked on an ACL rule, for example. Yeah, you can do the best you want, but you know, this kind of social engineers are getting smarter and smarter, and with the help of AI, of course, it's sometimes you even can't recognize that it's fake. So for that reason, it's good to have a monitoring tool which can at least take some action. So have an NDR tool for that, a network detection and response tool, which can take actions when something strange is seen. And you could see in the previous video that all events, all movements which are made by this engineer are seen by the system. And yeah, of course you can send an email, but I'm not a fan for sending an email, because maybe it's nobody is looking at the email from minute to minute. So it's better to send a message to a social media app, for example, or just take action and block accounts on a NAC, on an LDAP, on firewalls, add firewall rules, block ports. That's what you can do. Or send a message to a SIEM or a SOAR system where the SOC people are monitoring the networks 24/7. What you could do is, in this case, you saw that our tool is storing all the first packets by default. So you don't have to run a packet capture to analyze the first packets. You could see that information. If you like to have all the information there, then you can configure a packet capture rule, but that's most of the time when it happens next time. So we can't go run a packet capture back in time, but all first packets are stored. So sometimes there is no need to do that. And that the tool can use for forensic analytics, for example. So that would be good, that you can go back in time. In this case, it was done in the same day, but most of the time it could take more. And then it would be nice when you can use the tool also for regular security audits. Yeah, you saw that Mendel can do it for you. So if you have questions about it, let us know and send us an email. I wish you a very safe and happy day, and see you next time. Thanks.